Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhari, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Brijanaranjana, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Brijanaranjana, Jaya Jamunatiravanachari, Jaya Kunjabihari, Jaya Jamunatiravanachari, Jaya Kunjabihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Radha, Madhava Radha, Jaya Radha Gizari Radha, Gizari Radha, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Bala Dev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Nitya Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitya Gaur Hari Bo, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya 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 Vishvada Paramahansa Parivakacharya Saraswati Srimad Devani Krishna Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON Bibidi Funchai Prabhupada ki Srimad Bhagavatam ki Mahabhagavad Srila Prabhupada ki. So we'll start with Srila Prabhupada. Abhichal, we can share the screen.
Yeah, I'm share the screen, Prabhu. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, is it visible now from your end?
Yeah. Prabhu, I'll read it.
Yes.
Prabhupada Mitra ki Jai. He writes, all the area around this block was completely packed with people. They were all mad after Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness. Although a very big area, still people were occupying every space available, perching on rooftop, looking out windows, sitting on old cement boulders or blocks scattered here and there. Everything about Prabhupada's program was completely satisfying to everyone. The old people liked it because there was saintly figure of Srila Prabhupada, his young four disciples. And the intellectual liked it because Srila Prabhupada was giving such sound philosophy, and the children liked it because they could run and dance and join in the kirtan. Madhuri Dasa. At one program, they mobbed us so we couldn't even get out the cars. They were so eager to see Srila Prabhupada. There were so many people. Prabhupada said, all right, the next night will be the night for ladies only. So the next night, only ladies came, but still it was just as packed, and Prabhupada gave a wonderful lecture. Bruce, one program was so noisy that no one stopped talking. So Srila Prabhupada just started chanting the Brahma Samhita. That was the whole program. He just chanted the Brahma Samhita. Then he gave up and went out. Chidananda. Before going out to attend this program, Prabhupada looked like a general getting ready to go out for battle. He would come out of the room beautifully dressed and effulgent, ready to go out and fight Maya. There were thousands and thousands of people waiting. I didn't know what to make of it. I couldn't handle so many people, but Prabhupada was waging war on Maya. He was there to convince all these people. And the more people came, the stronger he would get. Prabhupada, sorry. Okay, we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So this is the program in Surat. It's a wonderful Prabhupada. It's such a big mission. People came out in such a big numbers to welcome Prabhupada, and with throwing flower petals from the windows, and the devotees were garlanded, and it was an amazing experience for the first disciple Prabhupada who were visiting with him in India. Hare Krishna. So we'll share today's verse. Prabhu can speak, share today's verse. So today's verse is Canto 5, chapter 13, text number 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Shiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Vyadhyayat Astrayastu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Hituki. This is the translation of Narayan. Before deciding this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respective obeisances unto the personal Godhead, Narayan, unto Nanda Vraja Dasa, the supermost human being, unto his mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the Srila Vyasdev, the author. Okay, so Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's verse, we're starting with the recitation. I'll recite first, and then we can follow. Verse number 3 of chapter 13, canto 5. Prabhuta virutrana gulam gavare kathore damsre namaske upadute kavichitu gandharva puram papsayati kavishit chasu rishiyom agraham. I'll try again. Prabhuta viratrana gulam gravare kathora damsare maskare upasnutaha kuchitu gandharva purnam papashyati kachit chastu ayal mukha raham. Anybody want to try this, reciting this verse?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am reciting.
Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Prabhuta viro trinagul magavare kathor damsoid mashakoir upadritaha kachitu gandharva puram prapashyati kachit chashurayol mukhakaham. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Anybody else would like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Good, Mother, go ahead.
Prabhuta biro tinagul magavare kathor damshoir mashakoir upodrutaha kochitu gandharva puram prapashyati kochit chashurayal mukograham.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
So nicely decided. Anybody else will try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
No problem, Matthew, go ahead.
Prabhuta virute trinigulma gahavare kathora damse mashkare upadrutaha kvachitu gandharva puram prapashyati kvachit chasu rayol mukhagraham. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else before you go to the synonyms? Okay, we'll go to synonyms. Anybody would like to do the synonyms?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I please?
Yeah, sure, Mother, go ahead.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhuta, a very large number. Virut, of creepers. Thrina, of varieties of grass. Gulma, of thickets. Gahavare, in bowers. Kathora, cruel. Damshahi, by bites. Mashakahi, by mosquitoes. Upadrutaha, disturbed. Kvachit, sometimes. Tu, but. Gandharvapuram, a false palace created by the Gandharvas. Prapashyati, he sees. Kvachit, and sometimes. Kvachit, sometimes. Cha, and. Arshu Raya, very quickly. Ulmukha, like a meteor. Graham, a fiend. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anybody would like to do the translation?
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Yes.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this forest there are dense bowers composed of thickets of bushes, grass, and creepers. In these bowers, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes. envious people. Sometimes he sees an imaginary place in the forest. Sometimes he is bewildered by seeing a fleeting fiend or ghost, which appears like a meteor in the sky. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Anybody would like to interpret?
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
you go.
Please
Go ahead.
continue.
Go ahead, Prabhu. Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'm reading in that case.
Thank you.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
The material household is actually a whole of fruitive activity. To earn a livelihood, one engages different industries in different industries and trades, and sometimes one performs great sacrifices to go to the higher planetary systems. Apart from this, at least everyone is engaged in earning a livelihood in some profession or occupation. In these dealings, one has to meet many undesirable people, and their behavior is compared to the biting of mosquitoes. This creates very undesirable conditions. Even in the midst of these disturbances, one imagines that he is going to construct a grand house and live there permanently, although he knows that he cannot. Gold is compared to a quickly fleeting fiend, which appears like a meteor in the sky. It displays itself for a moment and is then gone. Generally, commies are attracted to gold or money, but these are compared herein to ghosts and witches.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. We'll dive into the verse now. Om Jnanatamidasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurumitaminai Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitamina Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Atapadakamalam Shri Guru Navaishtavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhavitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopisakanta Radhakanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhavinda Vanishwari Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranavami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhu Vaisha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapataya Bhutale Shrimati Krishna Goswami Namni Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapataya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chami Vishesha Shrunivadi Pashyata Desatarani. So today's verse, the chapter is headed Rahuguna Converses with Jad Bharat. We are on verse 3. So I'll read the translation again, translation by Srila Prabhupada. In this forest, there are dense boughs composed of thickets of bushes, grass, and creepers. In these boughs, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes, envious people. Sometimes he sees an imaginary palace in the forest, and sometimes he is bewildered by seeing a fleeting find or ghost, which appears like a meteor in the sky. So this is the second set of conversation that King Rahugana and Jad Bharat are having. In the previous chapter, we also saw that Jad Bharat also was instructing King Rahugana, but he couldn't understand very well. So King Rahugana, in his humble state, he inquired, this what you have just mentioned is a bit difficult for me to grasp. Please, so explain it again. So it's such a nice inquiry. Just a bit of recap. So I think already what a lot of previous speakers already covered, by just for my own translation, I'd like to just recap a little bit. So we see here that King Rahugana was going to Ganga Sagar to attain a spiritual, like a retreat. So by Krishna's mercy, he met Jad Bharat, and of course, because there was no there was no extra palanquin courier. King Rahugana engaged, or more or less forced, Jet Bharat to carry his palanquin. And because Jet Bharat was very cautious about stepping on ants, he was not carrying the palanquin very nicely. And consequently, King Rahugana became very agitated. He sarcastically condemned him, and then he, in a very harsh tone, he chastised Jet Bharat Maharaj. But when Jet Bharat Maharaj, out of humility, he said, who is the carrier? Am I the body? Is carrying the body, or someone else? Who is thin or who is thick? And when King Rahugana heard these words, his heart completely melted. He could recognize immediately that the person who was carrying his palanquin was a very advanced devotee. So that was a change of heart, and he immediately got down of the palanquin and bowed down to Jet Bharat and started inquiring. Then this is how the conversation takes place. So we can see meeting of Jet Bharat and King Rahugana was masterminded by the Lord himself. It's not accidentally just someone who meets a great devotee like this. As we mentioned yesterday, and Prabhu mentioned, and also Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Maharaj also mentioned that the meeting of a great devotee and an aspiring devotee is not really accidental. Bahujan mein, I said this verse, Brahmane Brahmiti hone, kone bhagavana jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Latha Veje. There are many billions and billions living entities going up and down in the material world. It is by the mercy of the great of the Krishna that one attains, meets such a person and get the Bhakti Latha Veje. Brahmane Brahmiti hone, kone bhagavana, very fortunate person meets such a saintly person and get the seed of devotional service. So in this case, we can see that King Rahugana, he was very materialistic, but he was just by the mercy of the great devotee, Jet Bharat, he met him and then he got enlightened. And the great thing about this is that King Rahugana inquired very nicely. Initially he was very sarcastic and very harsh in his dealing, but then he realized and he completely changed his position. And because of this great humility, Jet Bharat was very merciful to him, and he started conversing about the intricacies of life and to give him spiritual knowledge. And that was a turning point. So we see here one of the things to acquire spiritual knowledge is humility. Tad vini pranipatena, praniprasthana sevya, upadekshana jnanam, jnanastatu darshana. One is approach a spiritual or enlightened spiritual master, inquire submissively and offers do pranam and of course do some seva. Only by this, when the spiritual master is happy or the great devotee is happy, the spiritual master who's seen the truth can impart the knowledge. This is exactly what's happening in this scenario. Jet Bharat was very merciful to King Rahugana, and he started imparting knowledge. So in the previous chapter, the 12th chapter, we see that Jet Bharat gave me very intricate knowledge about the mind control, how the mind is wandering. If you want to go advance in spiritual life, one has to very nicely control the mind, basically by attachment and by practice. So then he also gave the indication who is the supreme. There are three stages of Bhagwan, and then eventually he gave all this information. But then we can see from the previous chapter that Jet Bharat was not quite understanding this. So he again very humbly asked to explain in more detail. So that's what we hear in this 13th chapter. One of the very important points that King Rahugana was told by Jet Bharat is that one cannot obtain the mercy, one cannot advance in spiritual life unless one has got the mercy of the great devotees. You know, the verse in the last chapter, which really struck me very nicely. That says it, Vina Mahatpada Rajo Abhishekam. My dear King Raghunath, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. And then in the last he says, there are many other processes to understand the absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has attained the mercy of a great devotee. So this is a very important point. One may be very advanced in Ashtanga yoga, or maybe have taken sannyas, or following the Vanaprastha process very strictly, or doing so many other studies like in the winter, immersing oneself in the cold water. So say these are not the qualification. Only qualification that one has to get the dust of the lotus feet of the great Mahat and smear the body. And of course, by following their regulation, by their instruction, one can advance. But this is one of the key points in the last chapter. So now the King Raghunath has got this opportunity. He is really trying to smear his body with a Mahat Padarajo Abhishekam. That means getting the inquiry from him and taking all the instruction. This is Abhishekam. That's what we saw in Mother Govind Prabhu explained this word, Bina Mahapado Rajo Abhishekam. So these two things are very important. The mercy of the great devotees and taking the dust of the lotus feet of a great devotee by smearing this dust on the body, one advances in spiritual life. This is a very key requirement. And we can see Maharaj Raghunath has got this, excuse me. Sorry about the interruption. I got my two grandchildren just came from Fiji yesterday, so they're playing on. Okay, so yes, the point is that King Raghunath was very, very fortunate to meet such a great devotee, inquiring submissively, and then he's giving this more intricate knowledge now in this chapter 13, Raghunath converses with Jat Bharat. Okay, today's verse, yesterday, Sri Krishna Prabhu mentioned about this verse seemed to be very, very heavy in the sense that Raghunath is really being bombarded this calamity life of a family man who is just trying to make money and enjoy is not very nice. And it, in a way, it's come down very, very bluntly, and comparing the family relative wife as the plunderers of wealth. So he already dealt with that. I'm not going to go much in detail. The point he made is that there is it's a loving relationship with attachment and detachment. How one should look at this. This has already been explained yesterday. But very interestingly, this chapter, this canto, this canto starts with King Priyavrta and Narad Muni, and in the beginning of this canto, Parikshit Maharaj inquires from Sukadeva Goswami, how is that Maharaj Priyavrta was such an advanced devotee, he has a great spiritual master, like his spiritual master is Narad Muni. And how is that he got into the material world, get married and start administering the kingdom? And it was such amazing. He wanted to know from Maharaj Parikshit, why this happened? Because initially Maharaj Priyavrta didn't want to become entangled with the material life or administer the kingdom. But then Lord Brahma arrived and he explained the necessity of doing one's duty as an administrator is one of the requirements of a king. And doing that way, without attachment, one can become liberated, still attain the same goal, Paramgati. So these examples are being narrated by Sukadeva Goswami Parikshit. Then he's giving another example. In the fourth canto, we also see a parallel instruction. King Parikshit Maharishi was instructed by none other than Narad Muni, and about the intricacies, how the living entity get entangled and how one should be cynical. Of course, Narad Muni had a different strategy in that one, because King Parikshit Maharishi was very extremely involved in administration, and he was very much in sense gratification. So much so that he was killing so many animals in sacrifice. And then Narad Muni told him, all these animals are waiting for you to die, and they will give a similar pain to you as you have given in this life. And just open his eyes. But even then, he couldn't understand. And then Narad Muni had to give an indirect explanation by the city of 9 days. And he explained, then again, King Parikshit Maharaj, just like here in the Raghugun, he wanted to do more. And then there was a transformation. So here in this verse, we can see that Jet Bharat is very heavy on King Raghuna. The reason is that the kings are supposed to be Raja Rishi. If they are not the good administrators, how they going to impart this knowledge or administer their kingdom for all the living entities to get the Paramgati, the supreme destination of love of Godhead? So it's very important that the kings are trained properly so they can administer their kingdom according to Shastra and give opportunity to everyone to go back to Godhead. So also we see in Bhagavad Gita too that initially the Bhagavad Gita was enumerated or described to the kings, Raja Rishis, because they can impart. So very important that if the chief or the head of the state is convinced, then his subject in education can be easy to impart this spiritual knowledge to the subject. So very important. In the respect, I just want to mention that in Fiji, where I was previously based, the Christian study was Christianly spread in Fiji in a similar fashion. When the Methodist missionaries came, the natives were very hard to convince. And even one preacher who was preaching actually killed them and ate him. They were carnivores. They ate human beings. But then the missionaries saw that the chief of the area, or the chiefs, had very good, heavy influence on their subject. If the chief got converted, then the whole village and the whole region will become what the chief told them. So they work on the chiefs, and eventually the chief became Christian, and really like 90% of Fiji, the native Fijian population became Christian because they preached to the head, and the subject just followed. Similarly, there are one of the reasons why the rishis are preaching to the kings, Raja Rishis, is because the rishis, they have got a lot of administrative power and of course the powers to convince the population to lead them in a very nice way. So in this verse, we see that this Jet Bharat is saying this: you are entering a world which is thickets, and then you are there. You have to deal with a lot of unholy people and who are envious, just like mosquitoes, and it will be difficult for you to. It's going to be very difficult for you to administer in this situation. So because the king was already a very influential person, of course, being the head of the state, and he was already involved in sense gratification, and he was envious because in the way he treated Jet Bharat to carry his palanquin, he actually forced him. And then Jet Bharat mentioned that you are not doing well, not your duty, because you are forcing the carriers to carry him without paying them. So it's not very. So indirectly here, Jet Bharat is preaching to him in a very heavy way that because you have been being administrator, and in administration, of course, there will be some people who are very envious, and then you also deal with a lot of gold, and this some of the repercussions are here. So you see, in this world, there are dense boughs composed of thickets, bushes, creepers. In those boughs, the conditions always disturbed by the cruelly biting mosquitoes. So Prabhupada has mentioned that mosquito is compared here is the envious people. So what we see here, Rahugana Jadbharat is instructing King Rahugana, one of the most important things about or precondition for enlightening or to obtain spiritual knowledge is non-enviousness. We see in Bhagavad Gita, in the first verse of Canto chapter 9, Krishna gives Arjun, before he gives this confidential knowledge. In the chapter 9, the heading of the chapter is the most confidential knowledge. And then before revealing the most confidential knowledge, and Krishna instructs Arjun why he's giving this knowledge to him. He says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, idam tu guhyatam prakasham anasuye jnanam vijnanam sitam ya katva moksham savat. The Supreme Person of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart you this most confident knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of miseries of material existence. So Krishna is making the first point. That's because Arjuna is never envious of him. This is the reason he is imparting this knowledge. In this verse, the purport to this verse, Prabhupada mentions very strongly. He said the word anasuvave, in this way is also very significant. Generally, the commentators, even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write the Bhagavad Gita very inaccurately because they are envious of Krishna. The commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad Gita or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. So the requirement for understanding Bhagavad Gita, the main thing, of course, is non-enviousness. And Krishna extols this quality of being non-envious again and again in chapter 12 in the devotional service. Krishna is enumerating some of the qualities which he like to see in the devotees. He says, Advaita sarva bhutana maitakarna vacha nirmahu nihankara kshama shukadapakshami santusta satatam yogi yom nidar nishaya maya arpito manor buddhir some bhakta samipriyaha. Who is very dear to Krishna? Krishna is giving this verse to instruction to Arjuna Maharaj. He says, one who is not envious, but is kind to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego. So, first thing Krishna mentioned is that one who is not envious, but is kind friend to all living entities. So this is the quality that Krishna like to see in his devotees, to be completely non-envious, and then like to see all the devotees to see everyone equally, and be a kind friend to all living entities. This is again, Krishna says again and again, to be non-envious. So here King Raghunatha is being instructed that first to step, even to do a very good administration of your kingdom, is that one, you should be non-envious of Krishna and should look at all the living entities equally. And of course, there are envious people who will be jealous of the king, and that should be avoided. So, but one should at least cultivate his non-envious quality first before one can do this. Even in spiritual life, one want to advance. This non-luminous quality is very important because we see sometimes one man may become envious of the spiritual master of the devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, first chapter 1, verse 46, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Acharyam Vijnanam Nava Marteta Kalchit Nam Nitya Buddha Suryave Sarva Devo Manu Maya Guru. One should know that Acharya is myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all demigods. So here, a very important verse I say, because the Acharya, the bona fide spiritual master, is as good as the Supreme Lord, he should never be disrespected. And one thing is one shouldn't envy the spiritual master, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. So sum total of the demigod is represented by the spiritual master, and also he is the representative of the Supreme Lord himself. So if one is envious of devotees, or especially of the Acharya or the Guru, one is disqualified for any further advancement in spiritual life. Sometimes devotees might say, oh, why this person is receiving a very nice garland, or why is being offered very nice prasadam, why not me? So this thought, this envy is a disaster. It will immediately put a block for devotees' spiritual advancement. That's why Krishna is emphasizing again and again to become non-envious. And this is one of the core principles by which the living entities have entered the material world. Because in the material world, the living entity became envious of Krishna, and they wanted to enjoy separately. And so Krishna gave the facility, because the living entities have got minute independence. They entered, actually Krishna created this material world to facilitate the living entity's desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. So one time Brahma was asked, why did you create this material world? And then the Lord explained, because it was the desire of the Jivatma, who wanted to enjoy separately from him, and they were envious of him. And Krishna had to arrange this material, create this material, so they can act independently, but they will be under the rule of the laws of karma. So the envious nature is a very, very negative characteristic, and we should be avoided at all cost, especially of the devotees and acharyas. So in this verse, Prabhupada really emphasizing to King Jadbharaj is really emphasizing to Jadbharaj is really emphasizing King Raghuna that one should be non-envious. He say in your administration you might meet many people who are envious. He says biting like mosquitoes. What do the mosquitoes do? They bite the people. They not only suck the blood, but they also infect the person with the bacteria or the disease that is being carried, especially like typhoid, malaria. And one should really completely avoid of these people. So you will see even in Mayapur when you go, in the summertime especially, because it's a swampy place, there are a lot of mosquitoes. One has to be very, very careful to avoid them. At least take malaria tablets. So what it means that one who want to advance in spiritual life must avoid these mosquito-like people who are envious. And we have to take the antidote, like quinine tablets to be away from them. So this is a very important instruction here that Jadbharaj is imparting to Raghuna Maharaj. And then in the later purpose, Prabhupada explaining about the goal, and of course the freeing phantomologic imagination of the materialistic They are because working very hard day and night and want to enjoy. So they are working extra time to build houses, very palatial houses, and they putting their life on rope by working extra long hours to pay for their mortgages, have a lot of paraphernalia in the house. Just because they're working hard, they're forgetting the goal of life. So here, Jad is instructing Raghunath Maharaj to become detached. You do your administration, but in the parallel, you also cultivate spiritual knowledge. Okay? Otherwise, if you become too attached, become materialistic, then your spiritual life will be ruined. So here, towards the end, Prabhupada is mentioning this people by seeing fleeing finds or ghosts who appear in ghosts, who appear like a meteor in the sky. So meteors appear very suddenly, very bright, and they just disappear. They just burn out. So gold is like this. People are trying to accumulate a lot of gold to be wealthy, and the people who are very grahamedi, they just accumulate the gold, but not using personal service. And because the gold, the opulence is under the care of Mother Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is very chanchalam. She doesn't stay in one place. So if somebody accumulates gold and not using personal service, that gold or that money opulence is going to be taken away very soon by the Lakshmi herself, because she's chanchal, she doesn't want to stay at one place. How will it be taken away? We can see in very rich personalities or very rich billionaires, they try to accumulate a lot of money, opulence, so they can enjoy. But as they get older, they have a lot of issues with health. They are on restricted diet. They are not able to work properly, and they have huge bills, medical bills or legal bills. So there's no peace of mind. So here, Jat Bharaj is instructing Raghunath to disengage him, for him to disengage himself from this materialistic outlook, because Raghunath was already going to this Ganga Sagar to meet the great devotees to get some enlightenment, and here he meets he was very fortunate to meet Jat Bharaj, and Jat Bharaj was giving this very, very nice instruction to disengage himself from materialistic life, especially accumulation of gold. They are just like finds or meteor. They just come and go. You're not going to stay unless you use that wealth for the utilization for Krishna consciousness expansion. Such like devotees, we have Ambrish Maharaj, Prabhupada disciple. He's a multi-billionaire, but he's using this wealth to spread Krishna consciousness. And he gave so much money for constructing this huge temple at Mayapur. He's part of the team that's spearheading this construction of DOVP. So that is proper utilization of one's wealth. We see in case of Bali Maharaj, he disregarded his instruction of his guru, Sukracharya, and he suddenly gave everything over to the Lord. He said, this material resources accumulation is fleeing. It's going to be temporary. It's here today, gone tomorrow. So Sukracharya tell him, advise him, don't do this, don't give this these promises. When he went against the advice of his spiritual master and gave suddenly everything to Lord Vamandev. But the result was that he became enlightened. Then Lord Vamandev actually started protecting him. Not only that, he became his gatekeeper to protect him. So there's no loss if somebody utilizes money for the service of the Lord. He becomes much, much more enlightened. He gets spiritual knowledge. So we see that goal is also condemned because not only freeing, but it's also very contaminating. In the initial stages, when Parikshit Maharaj was hunting, he saw this Sudra imposter in a dress of a king, and he was to kill. He was already stuck 3 legs of the cow or the bull wool represents a dharma. And then this imposter Kali pleaded to Parikshit Maharaj to give him some shelter, because he's also one of the subjects of Parikshit Maharaj, who's emperor. So Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, you can stay where there's slaughterhouses, there's gambling going on, prostitution going on, slaughterhouses going on, because in that time in his kingdom there were no such places. But then Kali was very intelligent. He said, all these places are not hardly existing in your kingdom. I need to stay somewhere where these things are not available. So then Parikshit Maharaj said, okay, you can stay where there's accumulation of gold. So then the king and the Kali personification of Kali Yuga, he entered the gold. So gold is very contaminating. If somebody accumulates gold and doesn't utilize Krishna's service, is going to be his own divination, the king's divination, because there will be envious people who attack the king to get the gold, and then there will be so much losses in resources. So unless one uses gold in Krishna's service, it will be like the fleeing meteor. It's going to come and go, just light up the sky for a while, and it just burns out, and then it's lost. So gold here, Prabhupada is mentioning, is like a fleeting meteor. How are we going for time? Let's see. Okay, just 20 past. Okay. So I'd just like to wrap up here. What we discussed today in this first very important point. First important point is that the meeting of King Raghunatha and Jat Bharat was destined by the Lord himself. So King Raghunatha can be extricated from material life, and he became a very good king to rule his kingdom in a very nice way. King Raghunatha was already seeking after knowledge. So one of the euphemisms of Vedanta Sutra is Jignashu. One is very inquisitive to advance in spiritual life. So that's one meeting of the spiritual master and the potential devotee is not external. It's by arrangement by the Lord. One has to be very inquisitive, Jignashu, to achieve that. Second thing we learn is that in this verse is that Raghunatha got the instruction to be non-enemies. And we have a parallel running in the case of King Parikshit Bharashit in the fourth canto, because enviousness leads to contamination of heart, and it blocks our advancement in spiritual life. Very, very negative quality. And this is here in a very blunt but very nice way, Jat Bharat instructing Raghunatha to be not envious. Because the third is that one may have a lot of wealth, and especially gold, and keeping gold is very contaminating. And unless we utilize gold or any wealth in the service of Krishna, it's going to come and go in some other way by legal fees, by health, medical bills. So gold has to be used in Krishna's service to then it can become purified. The other thing is we learned that one should not be envious of all living, especially of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the representative of Krishna, and also sum total representative of all the demigods. He is as good as Krishna. And because it is representative, if one becomes, even within the heart, just think about it, becomes slightly envious of spiritual master or the great devotees, one's spiritual life is ruined. So this is some of the great instructions we learned from this verse. Just let me recap here. He says this verse, in this forest there are dense boughs composed of thickets, bushes, grass, creepers. In this boughs, the conditioned soul is always disturbed by cruelly biting mosquitoes. So in the material life, based in cities, the boughs and grass and creepers can be compared to the great buildings, malls, and and the living entity get trapped by these envious people, and when they get trapped, they're trying to imagine building big palace in the mind. It's like illusion. And then it says somebody who's very attached to wealth, especially gold. It's like a fleeing, fine meteor, and it will come and go. So one should be attached to wealth, but one should utilize in Krishna service. So three very important points. One, meeting of the great devotees and the potential devotee or disciple is arranged by the Lord himself. And then one has to be completely non-envious. Krishna doesn't want anybody to be envious to get the spiritual knowledge. And then third is that the resources we have in our employ, in our care, should be used in Krishna's service, especially gold should be accumulated. Otherwise, it's contaminating. And then eventually, if somebody is Graham Maggie and trying to accumulate wealth, it's going to go in terms of legal battles, or poor health, medical bills, or fighting between brothers or family, things like this. So these are 3 points from my point of view, some of the takeaways we can take from this verse. So I'll end here and request any devotees who can, reflection, please try to answer as best as possible. Or if not, then I'll refer to some more senior devotees for more clarification. So thank you everyone for listening very patiently and bearing with me. Okay, we'll wait for your reflection. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for explaining the verse so nicely. Particularly, the things mentioned is that the King Rahuguna is being advised by Charavarat about the problems of this material life, who wants to enjoy this material life. Actually, there is a problem. The way most of the material people think that they can enjoy this material life without the help of Krishna, because the very reason we are in this material world is because we have at one stage decided to enjoy separately from Krishna, and that is the problem. And even in this material world is meant for a situation where it is a feeling good situation. Somebody, they are in illusion, they are thinking they will be good by their own endeavor and all that, but they can never do that without the help of the Krishna, without satisfying Krishna's desire. So as you have told there are different mosquitoes. I mean, there are different people. There are a problem from those people or the living beings. There are three kinds of sufferings are in this material world, and one of the important is from other living entities. And that is what you have explained very nicely on that. And the other thing is that to get the mercy of the Lord, one has to be non-envious. And that is the first condition, because when we are envious of any person, whoever he is, I mean, we are against the part and parcel. We are part and parcel of the Lord, and he is also part and parcel of the Lord. So if we are envious to a person, we are envious of the Lord himself. So it is one of the conditions that we should avoid at any cost. And that's why you have mentioned about the Bhagavad Gita's verse. I think in this 12.13 it is there. Uddeshta sarva bhutanam moitra karuna evacha. So nirmamo nirahankara samo dukkha sukha. So that was the verse where it is meant all living the condition for a devotee to become a good devotee is that he should not think himself as a proprietor and free from false ego and equal to both happiness and distress. And the most important, he should not be envious at all to other living entities. And when it is done, the Lord is happy. And in this way, by satisfying the Lord only by the process set up by the Lord himself, and with the instruction of our spiritual master, who speaks only about the Lord, because we should always remember that spiritual master is no one but the representative of the Lord, and we should not look him as an ordinary material person, and we should always consider him as part as the Lord, as the representative of the Lord, and obey his instruction. And in this way, being non-envious, we can follow his instruction, and when we do that, we can go back to Godhead. Otherwise, we'll have troubles only in this material world, one after another, and with envious people who will get involved. So in this way, we can remain in the cycle of birth and death repeatedly and cannot go back to Godhead. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for this class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your reflection, Prabhu. Nice summary. Anybody else? You got a few more minutes. Okay, there doesn't seem so we'll end the class. So thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for the nice class. So many important points you brought out. So I just wanted to inquire any tips for how to avoid this envy. It's a very difficult problem. How to avoid this envy? Any tips for that?
Actually, when I was in the class, I was thinking of this. How to get out of the envy, because the heart has to change. So one thing we learned from just the chanting of the holy name is most important. But just by the holy name is so powerful, is as powerful as the Lord himself. There's no difference between the holy name and the Lord himself. Just somebody chants the holy name very sincerely, the contaminating negative impediments within the heart will get slowly washed away. It might be a bit gradual, might not be immediately. That's the one very important point. Yes, just the following the process given by that choice, just chanting very nicely, the impurities within the heart can be diminished or cleared completely. The second point is that one should regard that everything belongs to the Lord. We learn that all this material, spiritual world has come into being by the mercy of the Lord. Everything belongs to Krishna, and He has given everyone their quota. So if we can maintain ourselves within that quota and not compare ourselves with some other countries, other people or neighbors or somebody else in society, one can become very equipoised. He said, okay, the Lord has given me my quota. I'm content with it. I got a roof over my head. I got enough prasadam, devotee association, kapra, makan, the basic necessities of life are there. And one will become content, and he doesn't aspire to impinge on somebody else's quota. And then a person becomes very equipoised, very contented. This is one of the prerequisites of spiritual life. One is very content. And then the jealousy of comparing oneself with somebody else's advancement will of course diminish. This is spiritual understanding. That spiritual understanding comes, then this jealousy will definitely reduce. So everything belongs to Krishna and is given us his own quota. Different people, different society may have different quotas, different standard of living. And we just appreciate that because they're good karma. Lord is empowered them with different facility, but He has given us a bit of compensation to have a such devotees, which is much more important than having a nice house or environment, clean environment. So once come to this knowledge, and of course, then the enviousness within the heart will be gone. The third point is we should appreciate other people's advancement. We see, when there's offense to a devotees or the spiritual master, the one of the things that really required is one should go down and ask for forgiveness and appreciate other people's good fortune or good qualities. When we appreciate somebody's good qualities, then our heart becomes more soft and the enviness will diminish. So one time, I think Bhakti Charamana gave an example that one devotee in the temple, one pujari, was not getting along with the head pujari, and he came to Maharaj and said, "What should I do?" So Maharaj said, "What you should do and do is go and ask him what service he can do for you, what he likes, what prasadam he likes, let's see, any service you can do for him, just to please him." Although he was not getting, this was a bit hard for him to do. But he said, "Maharaj, you just try for a few days and come and report to me what happens." So this devotee was very at a loggerhead, and you couldn't even approach him. But because Maharaj instructed him, he ran and bowed down and said, "Prabhu, what can I do for you? What service I can do? Can I wash your clothes or bring you some paraphernalia, or we were short in pujari cleaning? I can help you." Just because he was somebody approached this, and the pujari engaged in some service, in his heart transformed, and the heart of the other pujari also transformed. They became good friends after this. So the point is that sometimes we might be a loggerhead, but we only look at the negative points, and that creates enviousness, jealousy within the heart. But if you appreciate somebody's good qualities, which are more great than the negative quality. Negative quality might be a small, like black dot on a big white chadar. So we only look at the black spot, then the negative thing also comes within the heart. We don't look at a greater picture. These devotees are doing such a good service, so many wonderful qualities. If I can just help him, be his assistant, or appreciate, even just appreciating it, then the ill feeling within the heart will be minimized, and the Lord will appreciate, and the Lord will reciprocate, and eventually this negative feeling within the heart will go. So these are some of the things I learned over the years. Just appreciate devotees, although you might be a bit loggerhead with them. There are so many wonderful qualities. Even a devotee comes to the temple, takes his time out. He might not be well dressed, but just the point is given some time to the Lord to come to temple. He might not do any service, just to appreciate, oh, he has come, to be associated with devotees. That's a great thing, great fortune. How many millions of people are there? How many will come to the temple? How many will associate? If you get a bigger picture and don't look at the negative things, then the heart will change. Okay, so this is some of the things I learned from this devotees. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you for sharing so many realizations on that, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Very nice, important tips. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll end the class. Thank you very much. One check out of the
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. His Grace
Nanda Vraja Prabhu
ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.